Hello, everyone. It's your boy Adrian here. In whatever way you can, let's make sure that we're supporting US ARC. They're fighting to keep our reptile keeping rights. It's getting really crazy out here with all the laws passing and white lists being approved. Make sure that you're becoming a US ARC member if you can. And if not, support US ARC awareness on your platforms. Thank you. And we're stronger together, guys. West Coast, man, you know where it's at. Best place to relax and kick back underneath the palm trees. Talk about reptiles and spit facts from BP to GTP, emeralds to Ackies, the city by the sea where we rock the crease khakis. I don't need no AI intro because I've been at the style. Come kick it on the West Coast and talk about reptiles. Reptiles. Talk about reptiles. Come kick it on the West Coast and talk about reptiles. Yo, what up? What up? What is up, YouTube? It's your big homie Adrian right here holding it down from the West Coast. You already know what it is, man. We got episode number 16, Banger Show. We're going to do a Tinley recap. Everything's going good over here in my trap, over here with the small trap. And everyone's doing good, settling in. Got the chondro settling in, doing good. Got one in shed. And got some ball pythons going off food still, so we'll see what happens with those. And upgraded the diamond pythons to some bigger enclosures, and they're nice and settling in and all warm and cozy. It's pretty cool over here. It's getting cool now on the West Coast, so I'm running heat on everything. Throw some heat on the rats. Notice the rat production kind of slowed down a little bit, so I'm start kicking up a little bit of heat on the rats. And got some Emerald Tree Boa action still going. She just came out of shed, so I got her fed. Might try another pairing again. First pairing was successful, got a lock, and we're keeping it rolling, guys. Keeping it rolling over here on the West Coast. You know how we do. So without any further ado, let's bring on the big homies. We got Steven from Leviathan, Andy from Solitary Reptiles, and Jared Sartorial Arboreals. Welcome to the show, Steven, Andy, Jared.
Thanks, Adrian.
Thanks for joining.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, appreciate it. And yeah, Tinley, it looked like another banger from afar. I didn't attend Tinley myself. These three gentlemen did. So we'll get a couple perspectives on how Tinley went and all the action that we all missed not being there, man. Really, really excited for tonight's show. If you guys want to just introduce yourself really quick for any people who don't know you, obviously Steven, people know you, but do a quick introduction on yourselves. If Andy, you want to start, and
yeah, sure. So I'm Andy from Germany. My brand name is Saltarine Serpentines. And yeah, so it was the first time that I came to Tinley, flying all over from Germany. So it was pretty exciting because most US breeders, when you're based in Europe, you don't see in person, like never. So that was pretty exciting. And also because the level of the show, like the genetic quality is like the best in the world, at least people said so. So I was pretty excited to see that in person. So yeah.
All right.
And you do ball pythons, right? Or
you breed.
I breed just ball pythons. Yeah. I have like a handful of glue birds too, and 2 super dwarf retics. But yeah, I'm a ball python guy.
Yeah, what's your main like morphs you're working with, combos you're excited about that you got paired up and?
So my main project is Hypoclown. I will slowly transition that to Sunset Hypoclown, what is like a pretty rare project, and I'm pretty excited about that. And last season I also started with DG Puzzle and trying to work a lot of interesting codoms into that. So yeah, those two projects.
Is there a lot of Sunset and Puzzle out in the Europe?
In Europe, not that I know of. Like, I think no one has Sunset Puzzles, and not even Heads, I think. But we saw like how good those double visuals look. So some people slowly start to get into that too.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah. Steven, if you want to,
Yeah, so we are also ball python people, and we have a couple other species. We're just recently getting into like poison dart frogs. So we have Dendrobatus auratus and Dendrobatus tinctorius azorus, which are like the Dendrobatus auratus are the Costa Rican black and greens. I love them. They're awesome. And we decided to get those when we went down to Costa Rica with Bob and Mary and Ryan this last summer. And we did a lot of herping stuff down there. We found some in the wild and it was a super cool experience. And then the Dendrobatus tinctorius, they're like the really electric blue ones, are the ones that we have. So we really like them. We also have a rainbow boa, and we have a red-eyed crocodile skink. So the
nice.
I don't remember their Tribulinotus gracilis, I think is the scientific name on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, really, we're ball python people. We just
down to Costa Rica with Bob Vu.
Yeah, we're actually going back in December. So
that's awesome, man. That's so cool.
But yeah, and then we're pretty active on Instagram and YouTube.
Yeah, and do you do a regular podcast on YouTube?
So not a pod. I guess it depends on what people want to like define as a podcast. So we don't do like a long form, like 2-hour long podcast, but every week I try to do about a 10 to 15 minute video. That's more like a traditional YouTube video. We have done podcasts in the past, like Partho, which is what that sign's from. So that was when Courtney, Molly, at the time she was with Chimera, but now she's with Canova. They did a podcast together, and that was super fun. But then Chimera ended up splitting between Chimera and Aura, and Molly ended up getting a job at Canova. So we ended up just calling it quits on that. But we likely will end up doing another podcast of some sort in the future, but we still have some like details to iron out. But if we do it, I'm pretty excited about the plans that we have for it.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I was wondering where the Partho went and stuff. I was digging that podcast, man. So looking forward to the comeback when you guys are ready. You guys are there. And Jared, man.
I feel very underqualified after listening to those two. But I'm predominantly an arboreal guy. I have more green tree pythons than I should at this point, and crested geckos, and I just got into super dwarf ticks as well. So that's predominantly my focus right now. I've been building my green tree python colony. That's my major thrust of my program. But the other things are kind of just fun little palate cleansers for me. And the crested geckos I do with my son. So that's been a lot of fun, just kind of getting him into a very low impact species that you basically have to try really hard to kill. So he's 8 and he's just been having a blast with it. So
heck yeah,
that's awesome, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, really quick about myself. I'll just do a little recap too. I was mostly a lizard frog guy. It's been about like 14 years ago. Been 15 years ago since I made my first reptile related video. We had a small YouTube channel with my best friend. Back in the day, it was called West Coast Amphibians. And I had like 10 different frogs. I had like 5 pixie frogs and 5 Pac-Man frogs. And that's where I got the name now, West Coast Reptiles. I kind of rebranded a few times and finally I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to stick to the West Coast Reptiles. I was mostly a lizard frog guy, like I said. And then I got my first ball python, and man, I just loved working with snakes. I was never really a snake person. And then when I got after you go to the shows and you just see like table after table of ball python, and I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna grab one. I got a pied, a visual pied, and I fell in love with it. And I was like, man, because as a lizard and frog guy, when you get a snake, it's just like, wow, like I could get like 20 snakes now, like because lizards and frog. I bred chameleons in the past, and I've had lizards, and you have to feed them insects and always have insects on tap, and it's very hard. Aside from like crested geckos where you could just mix the rapashi or whatever, the so I found a great appreciation for snakes and how much more economical it was to keep versus like lizards and stuff. So I started watching YouTube, and I saw a bunch of videos, and then all these different morphs. So then I really studied the morphs, and I got into some projects that I liked. And then I was watching, Trap Talk, and like I said, I had chameleons in the past, bred those. And then when I saw that you could get arboreal snakes like green tree pythons and emerald tree boas, it really lit a fire. And I found like my true passion, because like I said, I had the arboreal species of lizard in the past, and I love the arboreal species of snakes as well. And after watching Trap Talk and seeing, educating about that, it was a huge inspiration to dream to get my own someday. So now I'm happy to say I got a small little collection of some arboreal projects, and I have a very diverse collection. I have about like 7 or 8 different species of snakes. I got ball pythons, diamond pythons, green tree pythons, emerald tree boas, Solomon Island tree boas, Dumeral's boas, and Halmahera ground boas. And yeah, those are the species that I got, and I'm working, and I have pairs of all those. And so so I got a little balanced collection right here, but I do mostly have ball pythons, and I do really love them, and they are the only snake species so far that I've produced. I did have a clutch of green tree pythons, but the female went egg bound, and I lost her and a 20 egg clutch that was not laid, still inside of her. So that was tough, but I'm still, that kind of inspired me to motivate and work harder toward the green tree pythons. And yeah, they're a lot different, I feel like, than other species to breed. You really gotta just make sure they're hydrated and stuff like that. But yeah, ball pythons have been the only I've only had one successful clutch ball python so far. I had a couple clutches that one almost slugged out, then the egg got wrapped in the umbilical, and then another clutch that went bad in the incubator. And I went over that before, but that's just a little small background about me. I've got about 40 plus or minus snakes in my collection. How about you guys? If we start with Andy, how many snakes do you have in your collection?
So without the newest hatchlings, I have like 90. So mix out of like adults that are already like proven breeders or ready to breed, and some like sub-adults. And hatchlings, I think like the newest ones I have like 100 or so. So most of them, of course, I will sell, but I will also hold back a lot of stuff because I hatched some nice stuff that will replace the adults. So yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Very cool.
And then, yeah, for us, honestly, we're in a very similar position that Andy's in. We have about 120 or so like breeders of various, like maybe they're not all ready to go right now, but they're all like up there. And then between hatchlings that have just like come out, I don't know, probably another 100-ish, maybe not quite that much, maybe 70. So, but still probably about the same as what Andy has.
Nice.
Yeah, it really starts to add up. Like once you start, it's like, man, I just had a 6 egg clutch, and it's like there's 6 more snakes. Like yeah, just like that one clutch. Like, but yeah, Jared, I know you got a pretty good size, man, on your green tree python colony, man. So what?
Yeah, I mean, It's very modest compared to you guys, but I'm between the green trees. I think I have like 28, 29, and I've got 6 retics now as well. So the green trees, you're basically starting with neonates for all of them almost. I have a couple adults that I've picked up here and there, but it's the slow growing green trees, so most of them are too young to breed or anything like that. So, but yeah, about 30, 35, 36 animals right now.
You know, you're very humble about it, Jared, but the green trees, they do take up a lot more real estate. I was just showing off my 3x2x2s, and like, man, like 30, 40 green trees, you could have like 200, 150 ball pythons almost.
Yeah.
Like with 40, you could have like 2,000 ball pythons with like 40 3x2x2s, so but I love it, man. I love the big size enclosures. It's just like, it looks so like appealing and spacious for my big females, and it makes me really happy. And even my big Doomerals bow, she's getting pretty big now, and I want to upgrade her. She's in an FB70 tub still, and I want to get her up. She's not too big yet, but yeah, man, we'll jump into the main topic of tonight. I appreciate everyone going around and sharing some information so far. And I think I want to start with Steven. Steven, you attended Tinley, and I
Yep.
think you vended Tinley as well.
Yep. We were
And-
vending. So.
Let's get into the first things. We'll do the vending side, and then your overall thought of Tinley, and then the coolest animals you think were there, and then what you picked up. So the vending side, how did that go, man?
So compared to, we've vended Tinley one other time, and the other time that we vended, I felt like that there was a higher volume of sales in terms of like the amount of animals that were sold than this time. And when I talked to a lot of people like Bob, Brock, lots of other people, it was a very, very similar vibe where people essentially said that the count of the sales seemed to be down. And we have theories on exactly what happened there, but the animals that we're selling and the animals that we sold were significantly higher end. And so like we ended up selling on Sunday an Ultramel Sunset female that we had on the table for 20. And then I know Bob ended up doing a sunset puzzle that I think he had on the table for 30. He did a DG Exanthic Clown he had on the table for 30. Brock did 2 DG Sunset Clowns. There were a lot of really, really high-end sales that were going on that essentially those one sales made the entire weekend for each of those like vendors.
Oh,
whenever
yeah,
it happened.
for sure.
But overall, I do feel like that there was less people who were buying ball pythons, because that's really what we were focused on, than in previous years. And I wonder if part of that is that they did not have Snake Discovery here this time. So Snake Discovery was like around, but they didn't have them as like an official meet and greet thing. And I think that often when they do, it brings in a lot of families that are looking to get their first pets. And because Snake Discovery wasn't there that time, I don't know if that crowd was as heavy at this Tinley as it has been in the past.
For sure. What up, Big Mike and Santos? Thanks for tapping in, guys. And
But yeah. So,
there were some heavy hitters like looking to come and plunge into some projects, it sounds like. And yeah, I mean, just selling a 20K animal, that would probably make it worth it for you.
Oh yeah,
It
was the best show we've ever done.
Yeah, I saw that post. I think they were very excited, man.
Mhm.
That's very exciting stuff. And yeah, I hear you, man. I can feel it, like not even being a vendor or buying, like just my thought process right now isn't necessarily like what a great market would be. I feel like we're still in the reset, and we're coming out of the reset, and the reset's going to happen. I think if I just think about it for a second, man, it's like, when will the reset come, guys? Like,
so I've thought about this on various different aspects, and right now, like, I'll kind of use like myself on it. When I was a kid, I remember watching like Steve Irwin, And as a kid, just watching like the Discovery Channel, things like that, Animal Planet. And then I became an adult or like maybe a teenager and maybe had a little bit of interest in reptiles, but never got one. And it wasn't until I had graduated college and gotten a real job before I was like, oh, I can afford to actually like buy animals like this. And realistically, it took like it kind of like, I don't know, linked back to like being a kid and watching all the cool stuff on Animal Planet before that may have sparked the interest like 15, 20 years ago. But it wasn't until I was an adult before I was able to make decisions and really join the reptile hobby. And I think that right now, people like Snake Discovery are sparking those interests in an entire generation of people. But we probably aren't going to see a real boom from that until those people, the children that are really into Snake Discovery, are adults and are able to go out and really buy animals the way that they could afford. Because again, as kids right now, maybe they can buy a pet if their parents support it, but they're probably not going to join the breeding part of the hobby until they get to that point. So I don't know if there's going to be a boom beforehand. I know that there's been talks in like, I guess, politics and all that stuff of like rebate stimulus checks, which I think might be a little teeny tiny mini boom, but there's lots of different stuff. But I do think that once the Snake Discovery kids are adults and they decided that they want to get into an adult hobby, I could see there being another really big boom in reptile breeding.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think going into the next year, like it should pick up. It should pick up in the years to come. I feel like we're still kind of at the bottom right now, like as far as like interest. And I feel like it's gonna pick up soon. Like pick back up. You know, obviously we had the big COVID spike, and then it's, you know, kind of a lot of stuff's, you know, been affecting us, you know, as a market. And then and yeah, man, I feel like there's a lot of people I still see like to this day a lot of people kind of exiting as well. And I feel like that's, you know, just natural selection and uh all around, you know, pretty good for the hobby. You know,
Question
it's
Question for both of you guys on it. So just from an outside perspective, because we don't have any arboreal animals, I do feel like that within the last 6 months to a year that there has been a significant increase in specifically ball python people getting into like chondros and things like that. Have you guys noticed that there's been like an uptick in entrance into your part of the hobby?
Adrian, do you want to take that first?
Yeah, I'm sorry, my internet connection is kind of shoddy out here, and guys, if I do lag out, you know, just stay in here and keep it rolling, and I'll get back in as soon as possible. But could you repeat that a little bit?
Yeah. So I was just asking, from an outside perspective, because we don't have any chondros, we don't have any arboreal animals. I feel like that I've seen a lot of ball python people get into chondros and get into like things like that within the last 6 months to a year. Have you guys noticed an uptick in your specific part of the hobby of a lot of new people coming into them?
Yeah, you know, it's like yes and no, because it is a very like intimidating kind of thing, and you've got to really be like ready to do it. Like you got to really, it's not just like, oh, I'm gonna go get a bunch of green tree pythons. There are some people, you know, there's like there's some people definitely getting some green trees, but you got to really love it, man. It's not like, you know, it's like you hear it all the time when MJ says it on his podcast. You can't just get into chondros and think you're just gonna make, you know, all this money, and it doesn't really work like that. And it's like a whole science behind it. It really is. You know, keeping them is one thing, but the best, like Eugene Bassett says it best, from the best way to kill a green tree python is to breed it. And I was, you know, a victim of that myself, or a witness to that, or a testament to that. You know, I had this great green tree, bred it, and, you know, fortunately it didn't make it. And that shit happens. It happens a lot more than people think. And you know, I share everything and be transparent with everyone. And but you know, some people are successful, but it's not like other stuff, man. Like to get them to size, you know, if you buy a neonate, that's your best bet. getting adults is kind of shoddy. So it's just like a whole nother ball game. But I definitely feel like the interest is there. But with that being said, there are like 100+ animals of green tree pythons on Morph Market, and that number used to be like 50 when I first started getting into green trees, and now it's like at 100+, and it keeps getting more and more because these people keep posting all these kind of like lower end green tree. There are some nice ones. I'm not saying, but you see the high end ones, they sell like that, man. So if you see a green tree, they just talked about this on MJ's podcast with Patrick Holmes and the heavy hitters, Dave D. If you see something like, you gotta be on it like that, like with green trees, because it's gonna go. And there's a lot of stuff on Morph Market, like I said. And when I see stuff on Morph Market that doesn't sell, it means that there's not people out there buying it, because there's good deals out there on some really nice stuff, but no one's really buying it right now. So I think it kind of plateaued a little bit, at least for the stuff that's on Morph Market, because there's a lot of the side of the green tree python hobby that's not even on Morph Market. Morph Market for green tree python people is kind of like the last resort, and it's kind of not where you want to go to get your first chondro. Honestly, you just want to get it through someone that is reputable and has a good reputation, and is a vetted seller, and will take care of you, because there's a lot of shady shit with green tree pythons, man, and they're not cheap, and they're not as hardy as ball pythons. So for people coming in, like even as myself, I didn't know about half of this shit with green tree pythons. I just knew that you want to get some females first. Like, every ball python people give advice, grab your females first. But there's a lot of things you have to consider when you're buying a green tree python compared to maybe a ball python. And you can make a lot of mistakes quick. If you get into it too fast, you could really make a lot of mistakes. And I've learned a lot, and I've made a lot of mistakes myself. And even like thinking, I always say, man, if you could watch as many podcasts as you want, but if you don't go through the experience yourself, you're never gonna really know what to do, man. I've dealt with prolapse, regurges, egg binding, everything. Freaking Nido. I've dealt with everything, bro, and it sucks, dude. It sucks, bro. So it's a whole nother game, bro. When you're in ball pythons, you don't think about any of that shit. You don't think about regurges. You don't think about prolapse. You don't think about egg binding. You don't think about Nido. You don't think about any of that shit. And that's just the stuff that comes off of my head, like when you get a green tree python, you got to soak it right away, get it hydrated, and there's all this type of shit, man. So yeah, man, that's my little like disclaimer. It's not as easy and fun as people think. It really isn't. But they are a great species to work with. And if anyone who wants to do it, man, like holding a green tree python in your hands, there's nothing like it, bro. I've held like my diamond pythons, emeralds, but like there's something different about the green trees. Like even compared to a ball python, they just feel like really soft and smooth, and like a graceful animal in your hands. So it's really cool. They look pretty. I enjoy them a lot, just sitting there and looking cozy. But I as far as going back to like the shows and the interest, now when I go to shows, I'm not so more looking at ball pythons per se. Yeah, hell yeah, dude. A big MJ salute, man. Thank you so much for tapping in, bro. We all
Thanks,
appreciate
MJ.
you, man.
Good
Big
man.
trap god, dude. You're killing it over there, bro. Love seeing all your content, feeding videos and all that. Looking forward to your documentary you have with the big homie Steven coming up. So, as I was saying, as someone who's getting more into arboreals and going to these shows, I'm less focused on ball pythons. Before, I'd be looking at all the ball pythons, all the combos. Don't get me wrong, I still do. I still have a lot of appreciation for ball pythons. And it really, from a green tree python standpoint, you're looking for stuff, but you're not really finding anything. There's not really a lot of nice green tree pythons at shows On the East Coast, you'll find some cool shit like here and there. I've seen some dope ass shit on the East Coast, but as far as the West Coast shows, it's mostly import Beox. That's all you're gonna see. Import emeralds, and you're just rolling the dice with those. That's just a whole crapshoot. You almost don't even want to waste your time or money dealing with those animals. So they're cool to they're not even really appealing to look at. You kind of feel sorry for them or sorry for anyone who's going to buy these animals. You could get a good animal, and you could not. There's DM Exotics. He's a very good breeder importer out here on the West Coast. Dan Malari. But yeah, so it's tough, and I want to get Jared's perspective, like you said too, Stephen. But that's kind of how I'm looking. I'm kind of looking at all this stuff, but I'm mainly focusing on emeralds and green trees and ball pythons. But I love it all, and it's like I said, you want to look for those green trees, but they're just not there at the shows, so you end up looking at ball pythons.
Yep.
Yeah. But Jared, what's your take on like your perspective of you see more people getting into green trees, or we'll just get your Tinley, and then after you get into that, we'll get your reaction to Tinley from an arboreal enthusiast standpoint.
Sure, man. Steven, that's a phenomenal question, in my opinion. I think Adrian obviously covered a lot of it, but the main things that I would say is, in regards to that question, is yes and no. And I know that that's, kind of vague, but, when ball pythons, like, you guys are both examples to me of what the good side of the ball python is. You guys are both very intelligent, very articulate, very thoughtful guys. When you talk to the ball python people that operate at the level you guys operate at, there's so much thought that goes into it, and it's very methodical. It's very well thought out. It's very well planned. And I feel like the difference with the green trees is it's kind of more art than science. And I'm not saying that it's like, I've never bred them, so I can't say that from like a haha, I figured it out. But it's kind of one of those things where it's like a lot of the very logical steps that seem to work for people at a very high level, like you guys with the ball pythons, fall apart with the green trees. So I think because they are so attractive, they grab people's attention. A lot of people try to get into them, and I have noticed more selling in general across the board. But to Adrian's point, a lot of the like, again, ball pythons, there's been so much research into the genetics. There's so many morphs. So much has been done to understand the overlap and the layering of the morphs, like you guys are talking about. And green trees have like 3 morphs, 4 morphs. And like, not everybody even seems to agree on that. And, the ontogenetic color change they go through is like the biggest dice roll in reptiles, in my opinion, because it's like I could show you guys, I have some phenomenal looking neonates. They could turn out super plain. And I have some that just look like basic textbook, boring, caught from the wild green tree neonates. I could show you, them in a year. They look 10 times better than the ones that looked amazing as neonates, once they go through that color change. So, there are several programs that work at a really high level that I would say are the closest thing in green trees to the ball python, where there's a couple of these guys and ladies that pretty consistently produce very phenotypically similar animals going forward. Everybody else, they produce some beautiful animals, but it's really hard to predict. And I think that kind of wrong foots some of the ball python people, where it's very sensible, how things progress. And every now and again, there's a weird variation, but if you put this morph with that morph, you're probably going to get this. So it to me, the arboreal thing, I think it puts a lot of people off. Like, I think quite a few people try to get 1 or 2 to get started. And like, when you find out, like, okay, I can't safely sex them until they're like 2, so I have 5 to 10 of these things. In 2 years, I find out they're all female or they're all male, and, again, to Adrian's point,
That's
the market,
Great
thank
point, Jared. Like, I've real quick before, hold that thought, Jared. When
Yeah.
that's a whole nother thing is like the sexing. You can't even tell what the sexes are when you're buying them, and they could be probed and they could be probed wrong, and yeah, man, that's a whole nother thing too. Is if I just had, and then like the numbers thing, you get one or two, and then one dies, and you're like, damn, now what do I do? And so I had a female, my only breeder female, and she passed away. It's like, damn, like I don't have any more breeder females. Like, I don't even. And then I thought I had one that was a male, and then now it's a female, and now I have no powerful male, and it's like a whole nother ball game that gets you like so. You got to have some like deep pockets if you want to get in and actually like be successful, and you have to have the education too. But like you were saying, Jared, you were saying, man.
Oh, thanks.
Like,
Yeah, and absolutely right. And I mean, I don't want to drag my response out, but basically, I think that the green trees put a lot of people off too because they are super fragile in a lot of ways too. The whole nidovirus thing hangs over them constantly, and if you're deep enough into them, you will have a wild caught animal, even if you don't realize it, because there's so much shady stuff that goes on with the farm raised versus wild caught stuff from Indonesia. And I've ever since Bushmaster kind of collapsed, there's been a real void for reliable sourcing of wild caught green trees or truly farm raised green trees. And you could talk to some people like Steven Saltzman, guys like that, who are way more knowledgeable about the actual experiences over there. But that nidovirus being largely asymptomatic most of the time, if you're not religiously testing animals, even if they come from a reliable collection, but just by virtue of exposure in transit or things like that, the nido crash, I think it was 2017, wiped out some of the biggest colonies, in the field. And so it kind of leveled the playing field for a lot of people that weren't operating at the highest level. So like, it's a great time to get into them. But, if you don't have the mentoring, I think, from somebody who knows the ins and outs, like Adrian said, of the prolapsing, the nido, the other things like that, you could very quickly bankrupt yourself trying to get a good number of these things. And then again, you could kill them just by breeding them. So I think it's because of the value that a lot of them carry, especially the higher end ones. It's attractive to the business minded ball python people that want to try and get in and produce another high end animal that will have a good return. But I think unlike the ball python, because it is so unreliable, it puts a lot of them off that are just in it for the business side. So I don't know if that makes sense, Stephen, but that was a great question.
Yeah, no, great answer.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
It's MJ talked and Dave D talked about it on the last one of his banger episodes too. It's like, if you want a sunset ultra male, you go to Steven or Brandon Nixon. If you want like a calico or a blue line animal, you go to Dave D or John Irby or some. It's like with the green trees, if you want something, you have to go to that specific person that it has that stock and has that stuff, because I've been guilty of it myself. I just I see the word designer, and it's not actually a designer. It was a designer that was double outcrossed. It's actually a sarong. It's a 75% sarong with a couple other localities. It's not even a designer, but it was listed on Morph Market as a designer, and it wasn't even sexed right. And it's like, so you could really get lost in the sauce, and you have to really there's a lot of mislabeling, and it's so you got to really know. I didn't even know. And then when I started to look at the lineage, and then I talked to Garrick from House of Blue, I'm like, oh yeah, I got a couple designers. He's like, that's not even a designer, right? Like my stuff isn't even designer. Like it's just locality. And I mean, don't quote me on that, but and then he opened my eyes. I'm like, oh, he's right. These aren't even designers, bro. It's a double outcross sarong. So if you want a true designer bow, you go to people like, like if you want that Sunset Ultra Mel, you go to Steven, man. If you want a blue line or a calico, you got to pay the price, bro, or else you're not getting what you pay for. This animal could say calico, but you see the lineage chart and the calicos that was like, 4 generations, 5 generations away, and it's been outcrossed ever since. And so you're getting like 5% calico blood, and there's a whole lot of stuff, man. So but as far as the show goes, Jared, man, you attended Tinley, bro. What did you see there, man? What was your vibe, and did you pick anything up?
I did. So before I get into that, I'll because I think that's going to be less interesting to the general viewer than overall assessment of it. I basically ignored the ball python stuff completely because I'm out of my depth with how complex the morphs have become, and I am very casual with the ball pythons. Like I'll look at something and I'm like, that's the best one on the table, and it's like $200. And then you'll see it next to something else, like like Steven was saying, it's like $20,000 snake. It's gorgeous, but I don't know the difference. So for me, it's like if I asked him, he'd explain it to me perfectly. But for me, it's like I like what I like. I like that yellow one. So I kind of focus more besides the arboreal stuff, some of like the more niche out there stuff, just because I'm always intrigued by that stuff that I feel like even if I can't make an impact in terms of volume or breeding, like I would like to be able to say like, yeah, I work with something that not everybody works with because I know I'm not going to be large scale with it. So I noticed that there definitely seemed to be a lot more retics this year. I think that number continues to grow. I think the super dwarf thing has really, myself included, Andy, I'm sure you can attest to this as well. But like, I think it's pulled a lot of people in that were not necessarily eager to work with a 15 to 20 foot snake, but like retics, they have an awesome personality. There's a lot of morphs. Again, unlike the green tree, the retic morphs seem to be pretty sensical, like, in terms of comparison to like a ball python, where like if you understand that linear X plus Y equals Z morph pattern, the retics seem to follow that pretty well with a couple exceptions. And there were several people who I felt like were really pushing the envelope, doing some really amazing things. A&B Exotics, Aubrey's table was pop. I was there for all 3 days, and it was crowded every single day because he brought all the different ocelot combos that he's been working on, and they were lights out. And that's actually who I picked some stuff up from. But I look for Stephen touched on something that I thought was an excellent point, and it wasn't something I really noticed until the third day. A lot of people had a lot of animals left on their table by the third day, but the really high end stuff, for the most part, all sold. I was walking past one of the tables, and I'm sure you guys probably saw this too, but somebody had a shingleback skink for 10 grand. You don't see those super often, especially at the shows. And that sold. And there were a couple other, very clearly marked, multiple tens of $1,000 animals that by the second day usually were gone, and a couple of them by the third day as well. I just kept like, those were the things that I was curious about, because I'm always interested in the market, how it's flowing for the animals and stuff like that. Not because I'm really like jumping into it from the business side, but I'm just curious for people that understand it at a higher level than me. Like what draws the high bidder out, what draws the person that wants that extremely high end animal, like Steven was talking about. So, I definitely felt like the higher ticket animals much more reliably sold, even if there were less of them. But to Steven's point, like the value is there. You sell a $20,000 snake, that's a good return for a show.
Yeah.
Like that may not be all he did, and that may not be all he wanted to do, but like, $20,000 for, a show, that's phenomenal. And then I talked to several people that that had similar experiences where they were like, my mid-range and lower end stuff isn't moving as much, but I had a couple people come out, talk to me, and then they came back the next day and, here's $25,000 for those snakes. I mean, it happens. Tinley is one of the shows where that seems to happen. I haven't been to the Super Show, and I can't remember the name of the one in Florida that's really big too, but
Daytona.
thank you. But
yeah, I think it's breeder to breeder to answer this question.
I think very plausibly that's what it usually is. But I think like those are the triumvirate, at least in the US, of the shows. And I think, Andy can probably attest in Europe, I think is Ham. That's a pretty big show, right? I mean, comparable, so those big shows I think are where you're going to see the big ticket items move the most, because it is attracting the most eyes. It is attracting, when I was talking to Aubrey, he was saying like, this is my Super Bowl. I get to show off all the work from the year because it gets the most eyes on it. And I thought that was a really good comparison, just in terms of, even if you're not selling some of those animals at the show, you're getting in people's head about them, and like you're getting them thinking, and I may not have $17,000 right now, but I'm going to have it later this year. And I want that. And I know he's got that. I know he has more, that sort of thing. So, I don't think.
I feel like real quick, Jared, I'll give you a break right there.
Yeah.
I feel like Tinley is like the Breeders' Cup of the reptile industry in the United States. Like at super shows, there's a lot of families coming in. You got one at, it's close to Disneyland. It's just kind of like an attraction. There's the Pomona show. You only get really people from California. It's so isolated on the West Coast. And when you have Tinley, it's so centrally located. You get like breeders from all over are coming to Tinley, and they're going to see like where they could take their projects going forward. And that's kind of my like thought process on Tinley for sure. And maybe like Daytona's like that too, or maybe Bob shows coming like that as well.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with pretty much everything that you guys have said. I definitely think that there was a lot of breeder to breeder sales, but I would say not necessarily vendor to vendor. Like all of the people that I know that bought these super, super high end animals were breeders, but they weren't actually vending. They were there like at the show as guests. So I don't think that there was one, at least all the ones I mentioned. Sunset Puzzle went to a vendor. That one went to a vendor, but I think all the other ones went to people who were just there as guests.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, it's not necessarily vendor to vendor, but it's other breeders. There's all these breeders come to the Tinley to see the unveiling from Canova, see what Bob's got, and, see what Leviathan's got. And as far as who's got the green tree pythons, Jared, man, get back to you, bro. Did you see any green tree pythons at Tinley?
There's never a lot. I'm not going to talk about the ones that didn't look good. I'm just going to say, like, Wilbanks, they brought their Jayapuras. Those looked great. I thought they, for the price, they were in great shape. They looked.
Were they
really
reds
good.
or yellows? They're yellows.
They were almost all reds.
Oh, really? So
I was kind of surprised by that. But they had a couple yellows as well, which I think is more normal for them. But their stuff looked really good. And circling back to what Steven was saying earlier, I've been in green trees a short amount of time, but I've been lucky to be mentored by people that have been doing it a lot longer and at a much higher level than I have. And those people have just kind of keyed me in on some things, people like MJ, where things people say tell you that they don't really know what they have with the green trees. And there was a table that had them, and like I said, I'm not going to say any names, but somebody was asking, what sex are they? And they're like, oh, we checked, and this one's female, this one's male, whatever. These were tiny neos, and it's like, okay, they're probably not throwing sheds that are showing any kind of sex traits in the shed, so you had to probe them. You very plausibly sterilized these animals. Or did internal damage that will affect them later to their tail or things like that. That put me off that table immediately. They looked pretty good, but when they said that, I was like, walk away. Now the more casual person who's like, oh, I'll roll the dice on a green tree, they might not have picked up on that. But because I've been educated by these people that know that stuff, I knew like, okay, this is not somebody to get a green tree from,
That's a great
So,
point, Jared. Great point, man.
yeah, thank you. So, and there were, I think there were only 3 tables that had more than one green tree. There were a couple one-offs, kind of, again, circling back to Steven's great point, people that I think kind of put one foot into it and was like, the hell with this, like this wasn't worth it. I'm going to get out now and drop the 1 or 2 that I have. But there were only, I think, 3, maybe 4 tables that had 2 or more.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like when you see a green tree pop at the end of the show, it's like, all right, well, like, why are you selling it? Like.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. Yeah.
It's like, especially if it's an older animal. Yeah, man. Yeah, great, Jared.
I did see a Carpondro at the show, which I had yet to see previously. So that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool.
What was the percentage on it?
It was 75-25 green tree. So it was, I was kind of surprised by that, because you don't typically see a lot of people, I think, get past the 50-50s. But
so it was 75 green tree?
That's what he said. Yeah. So
who had it?
I don't remember. I didn't catch the guy's name. It was not a guy that I was familiar with. Yeah. But
was it like the Rainbow or the Rainforest Gems or the Rainbow?
No, because I do know him. No, it was not him. So
he's got some badass shit.
he's producing them regularly, which is kind of crazy to me. But this was a really nice one. It was only $2,000, and if I hadn't dropped a lot of money on those retics, I would have maybe done something with it. But I was out after the retics. So.
Okay. And Andy, man, you attended Tinley, and we want to know what your reaction was to Tinley, man. Like, did you pick anything up, and like, how were the vibes? Did you see a lot of stuff that you don't usually see in Europe over here? And how were the vibes, man? Was it super crowded compared to, I hear Tinley could be a little crowded, but yeah, man, go over it for us, Andy.
Yeah, there's a lot to tell, actually. So we'll start with the crowded part. So people here actually told me that I need to be worried that it will be very crowded and not enjoyable. But at least the time that I attended now was not crowded at all. Probably as Steven said, because Snake Discovery wasn't there, and usually thousands of people come there just to meet her and get an autogram and stuff. So yeah, for me that was perfect. Yeah, so I could just easily walk through and look at everything and actually talk to the breeders and stuff. So that was great. Ham is always super crowded. Yeah, you cannot move there, and it's getting super stinky and hot, and it's not enjoyable as a visitor. Only if you are like me, I like to look at all kinds of animals. Yeah, also the frogs and lizards and stuff, everything. So for me, it's still kind of a chocolate factory to just walk through it. So yeah, no, but Tinley is very different. So it is also much just the setup itself is much higher end. So everyone has banners and stuff, and looks very professional. At least 90-95% of the people. So that's also not really the case in Europe. And also the quality, that's also what I expected from before. Yeah, when I saw videos before, what kind of animals are offered at Tinley, it's usually very high-end stuff that sometimes is reviewed the first time at the October Tinley. So, and yeah, that expectation was met. So there were very high-end animals, the double and triple visuals that almost no one else has. And yes, some I saw for the first time in person, the DG Sunset Clown, what was an amazing combo to see there. So, and also when you are based in Europe, you usually don't see the US breeders unless only on social media, YouTube. Some people like Justin also come to Europe sometimes, and you can meet them there. But yeah, it's something special to actually meet these people in person. And as I said, as it wasn't crowded, I could actually take the time. And it's good that it was like 3 days with a VIP ticket, so that I could actually take the time, go through all like the rows, and talk to all the breeders I wanted to. So it was really great. And what I was a bit surprised is first that there were actually people who had tables with either just pet level animals. Yeah. What I thought it's just like a high-end show, but some people apparently also try to sell those, or like a mix out of pet and like beginning level breeders animals. So and like coming like to the more high-end side of ball pythons. So next to clown, like puzzle is like the current like baseline, so to say, project morph. So most people go either hypo puzzle or DG puzzle. And with DG puzzle, there was actually very few breeders that had anything in that project. So, and I was actually looking for like a nice male to get into my collection. So I didn't have that many choices actually. So I talked to Bob. Bob was one of the people who had some, and it was actually also my birthday on a Saturday, so that made it even more special. And so he gave me like a great like birthday deal on like a pair of puzzle head DG animals, and
Nice.
so pretty happy to get those. It will be like a longer process to actually get them to Europe. Probably will be in December, but still, yeah, super happy to get those.
Nice, man. Is Steven going to hang on to those for you until they're ready to export?
No, it works usually that the breeder who
Oh,
them
okay.
holds them for the time until like all the paperwork and so on is cleared, and then once everything is ready, and then shortly before the actual handover will happen, usually also in Ham, the animal is shipped first to the UK, will be sitting there for maybe 1 week or so, and then will be shipped to Germany, and then will be ready there in Ham.
All right, for sure, man. Yeah.
So did I forget something?
Yeah. Yeah, no, you covered it all, man. You covered it all. And
Yeah.
yeah, man. Tinley, bro. It was there's a lot of high level people. It's cool to go to the shows like you said, Andy, and meet people in person and really put a face to their name. You're like, oh man, you're like 6 feet tall. And as far as Canova goes, was there a big Canova unveiling this year?
There wasn't this year. Like the ones he had shown, he had lots of amazing animals, but I think he'd already shown them on like YouTube videos already. Like the big one was that, I don't remember all that it was, but like a DG Exanthic Clown Spot Nose Confusion. I don't remember exactly what the combo was.
DG Exantic Clown, yeah.
But
it was
probably,
NFS.
Oh yeah, definitely NFS. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was like probably his big animal. In my opinion, the best animal at the show, which again biased because Sunset's my favorite morph, was the Sunset DG clowns that Brock and Brad had. I thought they looked incredible. I thought they looked so good.
Yeah. That's a good segue. Is what you think your best animal at the show was?
Mm-hmm.
So that was the DG Sunset. No.
Yep.
DG.
Mm-hmm.
DG Sunset. A clown?
Yep. DG
I didn't
Sunset.
even. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. I was thinking puzzle clown. Like, you don't want to do puzzle clown. Like, yeah. Okay. DG Sunset Clown. Yeah. All right. It was nice and bright. It was.
Oh, it was so good.
I didn't see it. Yeah, I didn't see it. I kind of I've been busy over here, man, just personally with stuff. So I haven't had a chance to really like catch up on like Tinley stuff, and that's why it's great to have you guys here, and now I know what to look out for. But Andy, what about you? What do you think the nicest animal for you was? If it isn't the same one, like what's the second nicest one?
So I would say my favorite is also the same, the DG Sunset Clown. But that one was really amazing. But second, actually, you have to make a little bit advertising for Steven, because the second one was the Super Orange Dream Sunset Ultramar. That one was also amazing. Yeah, I mean the plain Sunset Ultramar is already amazing, but the Super OD makes that thing glow even more. It was like super bright, glowing orange.
Who had that animal?
We did. We had that one. So
Yeah.
Let's go. Hey, it turned out Leviathan, bro. Stephen and
Mhm.
Courtney, man. And Jared, what do you think the best animal was that you saw? And
Man,
it can't be a ball python.
I would agree with them for the ball python, and that's all I know. But I think the stuff that I saw that got the most buzz and that I thought was the coolest was Tremper had some skinks. I think they're the splotch-backed or whatever. I never even heard of them before the show, but I guess like you never see those, and they were super cool looking. And of course, like the guy behind me is I had no idea who he was at the time, but he's like, yeah, he's like, that's the rarest animal at the show. He's talking to his female companion, and somebody else was like, what about the shingleback skinks or whatever over there? He goes, I used to breed those, no big deal. But so I didn't even know that those were rarer than those. But besides that, I would say probably, and I'm a little biased, but Aubrey's ocelot stuff was at A&B Exotics, and he and Jake Klotz are doing. That was super cool. I got to hold one of the bigger tiger ocelots that he brought, and just unbelievable color, iridescence, and vibrancy on the animal. Puppy dog tame, which is always cool with the retic. And it was like I said, because I got some animals from him, I got to go behind the desk and talk and hang out with them and stuff. And I definitely, like I said, I've never felt cool at the show. I'm nobody, not important. And I definitely, like when I was getting my animals, I could see people looking at them and oohing and on and stuff like that. And that felt pretty cool for me, just by like guilty by association with cool people. So the ocelot stuff, I was really impressed. And like I said, I think Andy and Steven could comment on a lot of that at a much higher level than me. But just seeing how the ocelot morph really accentuated basically everything Aubrey and Jake put it to, really brought, like, I mean, again, with retics, I think the most common morph you see is tiger. Most people don't really even care about it anymore, seem like. That ocelot tiger, I mean, that's two morphs, but two visuals, but that was one of the most beautiful retics I've ever seen. And then when you put it to something a little more complex and visually interesting, like a marble or the cow or a couple of those others, and then you start to incorporate, with some of them, like two of the ones that I got are triple het, Indo, Caramel, Anery, Ocelot. And when you get the visual of some of those things coming down the line, plus the super dwarf percentage and things like that, you really get some visually unique looking, for at least from my experience with retics, animals that, like, again, much like the ball python, really seem to push the envelope on what you thought that species could look like.
Yeah, man. So that's a great breakdown and appreciation for some retics. I know those ocelots, those iridescents and stuff be banging, man. They're really starting to look crazy, bro. All these super dwarfs, and they're looking dope. And what do you guys think, if, like, aside from ball pythons, which I'm thinking were the most popular animal at the show, or what do you think like the second and third might have been, species wise?
I'm trying to think of what I thought of people buying. I don't know if I saw a whole lot of sales this time, but one that I heard a lot of people talking about were house snakes, which I feel like that those kind of popped up, at least from what I've noticed within, not saying house snakes popped up in like the last 6 months, but I started hearing about a lot of people getting them in the last 6 months.
I've been hearing about house snakes too. Yeah.
I know Warren with Bushfeld was there. I don't know how he ended up doing on the house snakes, but that was one that I heard people talking about. Did you hear anything, Andy?
Here not, but usually also here, hognose snakes and like boa constrictors are like many tables are there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how well they sell, but I would assume that they sell also kind of okay. Yeah. So
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I love hognose and especially boas. Dude, I really like boas a lot. Boas are dope. There's some super nice boas out there too. What are your take on boas, Jared? Fuck with
You know,
boas?
I like boas. I don't have any at the moment, but I've been really impressed with. I feel like boas have, and again, maybe it's just because I haven't paid attention to them up until relatively recently, but I feel like they've blown up the past couple shows.
Yeah.
You know, back you know in the 90s when I first was getting Reptiles magazine as a kid and stuff like that. You know, locality boas didn't really seem to be a thing, for at least like boa constrictors. And there was at least one or two tables of guys that was the predominant focus for them. And in addition to
Yeah.
in addition to the really high end morphs and really just unusual cool stuff. But I would echo Andy's point there that I definitely felt like I saw a fair bit of traffic for the boas. Um, like Steven said, I've never really heard of the house snakes previous, but Bushfeld had a big crowd pretty much every day when I was there. There definitely seemed to be some interest. I mean, besides the ball pythons, I think the most ubiquitous species there are the crested geckos and the hognose. Those seem to be very, large scale breeding program friendly, species.
Yeah.
And like I said, with my son, the crested geckos, you have to try to kill,
Yeah.
so like it's a very forgiving species. And to Andy's point earlier, it's a fairly unless you're dealing with the really unusual cool morphs, it's a pretty wallet friendly species too. Like a lot of people that are there with their kids looking for a pet, the crested gecko, you drop $200 and you've got a decent one.
Yeah.
You drop, in some cases less, but it's only if you're really trying to get some of the sables and the exanthics and the other crazy morphs that you're getting in the high hundreds to thousands. So there were definitely a lot of those, but I definitely felt like I saw more retics selling this year than I have at previous. I felt like I saw the boas selling. I felt like I saw, obviously the ball python business, it's I don't think it's ever really going to go away just because of the time and quality of animals people have produced now, at the level that you guys were talking about. But I definitely felt like those were the things that I saw getting the most movement in terms of, when I went back the next day, that table had less animals. When I went back the next day, that person was wrapping up. There were a couple tables where people really moved through a lot of animals. And to Andy's point, it wasn't necessarily the high end stuff, but it was some of the mid range stuff where like they got through a lot of them. So I thought that was really interesting, and I'm always curious by day 3, like what people are feeling good that they brought and what they're feeling like they shouldn't have brought, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And when we bring up boas, I have to give my love and respect to the one and only cutting edge herp, Vin Russo, and his apprentice Kenny. I heard that they attended the show, and my love and respect to those two. And also, I think Gary Shavino posted a really cool animal from Tinley, which was the opal boa or
Yeah, I
something
saw
like that.
that.
I don't know if you guys saw that post from Gary Shavino. That was a really cool animal too. That's what I like, is like those super little niche like boas and stuff like that. Like got a couple pair of weird boas. But yeah. So, and let's talk about some of your guys' logistics, man. I hear you guys were there for like 3 days. Obviously, Steven, you were there vending.
Yep.
Maybe we'll go to Steven first, and then Andy and Jared. And Steven, like, what was your logistics like? You're based out of Atlanta, if I'm not mistaken.
But yeah,
Oh,
essentially.
I'm sorry, South Carolina. South Carolina. Yeah, South Carolina.
Yep. So,
And
go ahead.
you drove out there. You packed up all the displays in your truck. You got a trailer, or
So for this one, it was actually really easy. So we were vending with Bob Vu. So he had like the tables and all that stuff. So he had brought like all the displays, and it was all like his banners and stuff like that. So we just had to bring our animals, which was so much easier than the first time we vended Tinley, because when the first time you vend, you have to do like when you're doing your whole setup, you have to bring your displays, you have to bring your banners, you have to bring your tablecloths, you have to bring all of the stuff for it. So just having to bring the animals was so much easier. We left at probably like 6-7 o'clock Thursday night to start driving up, and we drove about 7-ish hours, and then we got a hotel like on the Kentucky-Tennessee border, and then we finished up the rest of the drive, which is about 6 more hours on Friday, and we got to Tinley at about noon, 1 o'clock ish. And then what Bob was already set up, so we just put our animals in the displays he already had ready to go, and essentially we were good to go. So it was super easy. On the way back, though, that one was rough. So we ended up leaving the show at about like 4:30, 5 o'clock ish, and then we drove all the way through the night. So we didn't stop for a hotel. We went, and Andy was riding with us back. So from waking up in the morning to vend the show Sunday, and then vending the whole show all day, leaving, we didn't get home until like 7 o'clock in the morning on Monday. So we were exhausted. But that was our logistics for it.
man, that's
a
gnarly,
hell of
man.
a trip, man.
Glad you guys made it home safe, man. And like as far as like the animals, like how did you have them packed up? Like were they in bags or deli cups?
Deli cups mostly. So for this, we had like all the animals, and there was a couple that were in bags because we ran out of deli cups and all that. But essentially, they're all in little deli cups, and then they're all stacked in like essentially like a big tote. I don't know if you can like that kind of thing. So that way we just be able to carry the tote. But the reason why we went with the deli cups is that if an animal were to like pee or defecate or something like that, we didn't want it ruining all of the other bags that they would be like in the container with. So our idea was like we kept them in the deli cup, and that happened. At least it would just be that one animal and not all of the animals we have to do. Yeah.
Did you have any defecate in the deli cup?
We did. It was actually right when we were first starting. I don't even think we had left. It's like we had put them all in there. We're ready to go. As we're going to load up, we check on them, and one of them had like pooped. So
Yeah. They're usually good about that shit, and like, yeah, man, that's dope. And
yeah.
Andy,
So-
bro, how was? Oh, I'm sorry.
So my way back, you already heard. So it was
Yeah.
But actually, coming from Germany isn't that difficult. There was a flight directly from Frankfurt in Germany to Chicago. So and that was like an 8.5-hour flight during the day, what is pretty reasonable when you think about it's from a different country, continent.
Was it like a 757 or like a 380 or a 3? You know?
I'm the wrong person to
Yeah.
ask something like that. I have to check. But it was like a big usually for these intercontinental flights they use
with the 4 engines, like a
Yeah.
350 or something. Yeah,
must be something
it's
like
probably
that,
a 350 or something. Don't quote me.
Mhm.
So it was 8.5 hours a flight.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
Just a direct flight, but it was during the day, so it's harder if you have to do it like overnight, so that you have to actually sleep in the plane, and then the next day you are trashed. That will be the case when I come back to Germany. But for coming here, it was like, I would say very like reasonable. And then like a friend that is also in Steven's Patreon, Jason from JT Morphs. He was so nice that he hosted me. So he picked me up from the airport, and then I could stay also in his house for like these 3 days.
Yeah.
So he made my life much easier. Otherwise, I actually booked a hotel already before and stuff, but I could, because of that, I could cancel it. And then, my life was
Yeah,
very
I've
easy.
seen, yeah, I've
So,
seen this. Like, you could ask the pilots for a trading card, and it'll tell you if it's like, well, they have all the trading cards for like all the planes, but they'll have maybe the specific one for the plane. They're pretty cool. They look like a Pokemon card, but it's like, I
okay.
don't know if you guys have ever seen those
I haven't.
trading cards.
I haven't either.
I
Yeah,
haven't thought about that. No.
yeah. Thanks for
Only
bringing
know
that up,
Pokemon
Santos.
trading cards.
Appreciate you engaging in the conversation, bro. that's that's awesome, man. You came out to Tinley and kicked it with the homies. And Jared, I think you were in Indiana, I believe.
Yeah,
Wait,
my story is super boring after theirs. I'm 20 minutes away, so
Oh,
I
yeah.
just drive across
all
the
right.
state
Well,
line.
hey, bro, that's good to
Yeah,
know, man. So did you went all 3 days, Jared?
Yeah. I went. I was just gonna go the first two, and my son conned me into getting some crested geckos, so I needed to go back and get some supplies the third day, and just kind of wanted to say bye to a couple people, you know.
Yeah.
And like I said, just kind of snoop and just kind of see how things did, you know, eavesdrop a little bit, talk to a couple people, just so I kind of had a baseline of what to expect, you know, going forward, what to see at the next shows and stuff like that. So yeah.
And did you drive back and forth from home to Tinley each time?
Yeah. I mean, the traffic wasn't even bad. Like I said, 20 minutes, 30 minutes on a bad day. So, you know, especially like the day I picked up my snakes, I just wanted to, you know, shoot right home and get them situated. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun, you know, and like I said, I have the best of both worlds because I don't even have to travel far for it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
I
that's like me driving to Anaheim or Pomona. It's like 30 minutes. You know, you could just go back and come home both days.
yeah, I
I'm
mean,
so
it
jealous of you
makes
guys.
going
I'm
three,
so jealous.
it makes going for 3 days a lot more feasible and enjoyable than if you have to, you know, figure everything out like they did, you know, from a travel standpoint. So I can't
So
complain
back
at all.
back to you, Steven.
Oh no, I was just saying I was so jealous. I'm so jealous
Yeah.
of a 20-minute drive.
What's like the closest show to you, Steven?
So there's a couple local shows. Like we have a Show Me Snakes, I think it's in Grovetown. It's probably about 30 minutes away, but it's very, very small, very, very
Yeah.
local. The biggest shows that are like Tinley level are Bob's Southeast Reptile Expo in Atlanta. That's about 2.5 hours away. And then Daytona, which is about 5 hours away.
Yeah. So that's pretty tough, huh?
Yeah.
But,
I mean,
it's not bad when you're vending. It's like, all right, I'm going to vend, dude. Like, you know, it's like it's a different. If you're just going to like hang out, it's kind of more.
yeah,
like
we'll fly if
intimidating.
we're gonna go hang out, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. And so you and Bob are starting to hang out a lot more and shit, man. Like how did
Yeah.
you and Bob's relationship grow so much in the recent, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah. So actually, it kind of goes like way back. So when we very first got in, Bob was like one of the big breeders at all of the local shows because he's only like 2 hours away from us. So all of like your like kind of local show circuit, Bob was there. So we'd met him at those shows, and again, this is like probably 2021 or something like that. I had a friend, Troy from Balls and Strikes, was going down to Bob's to get some animals, and he invited me to come along with him. And while we were down there, we ended up like meeting up with Bob, and we ended up buying a Super Banana Sunset female, which that was the most, actually, I think it still is the most expensive snake that we personally have ever bought. So we ended up getting that snake. We ended up coming back down to Bob's, Courtney and I, and we just kind of like hit it off and became friends and all that stuff. And then slowly kind of like over time, we just saw them at shows. We hung out with them. We ended up going to dinners with them at various different stuff like at shows. And we ended up doing the Bob Vu documentary. I don't remember when we recorded it, but essentially we like interviewed them and we followed them to a March Tinley. Like we like pretty much stayed with them beforehand. We followed around, filmed them the whole weekend. And that was probably like one of the big things that happened. And from
What
there,
up, Elias?
we ended up going, so not just the Bob Vu documentary, we released it, did great, it's awesome. I'm really, really proud of that one. we ended up going to Costa Rica with them, but I don't remember how exactly that got started. I think we had talked to Bob that we were planning on going to Costa Rica for a family vacation, and Bob had essentially said, like, I've been wanting to go to Costa Rica forever. There's so many good herping things there, and we all just kind of planned the trip together. So with that, we went to Costa Rica with Bob in June, which was a great time. It was awesome. And then really that's just how it is. And we just kind of like hang out with Bob. He's the closest, him and Justin are probably the closest, like really big breeders to us. And we're just good friends with them. So we're taking Andy down to both Justin's and Bob's tomorrow. So we're pretty excited about it. But that's really how it was. It's just over time, over several years, just seeing people at shows, interacting with them, getting in with them, and you slowly build up the relationship over time.
Yeah. Maybe you kind of think of Bob as like a mentor to you?
I do, but I think it's in a like slightly different way than I think a lot of people think of mentors when it comes to the reptile hobby. Oftentimes people think of mentors of like, this is how like they teach you how to breed, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily think of Bob as a mentor like that. I think of Bob as a mentor when it comes to like the business side of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like there's like a whole like completely different like approach to it. So like, for example, if you are going to be vending a lot of shows and you need animals on the table, at what point does it make sense for you to buy wholesale? And how do you find those wholesale relationships? How do you find people to sell your wholesale relationships to? Stuff like that. There's lots of different things that I feel like that come on the business side that, again, we just haven't really experienced because we're so much newer to the reptile world than Bob is, that he's already figured all this stuff out in the past. So,
yeah. Yeah. How far is Bob's place from you?
it's about 2.5 hours or so.
Okay. So same. Yeah. Same thing.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, that's dope, man. And aside from that Sunset Ultra Mill that you sold, what did you sell any other animals too?
Yeah, we sold quite a few like double het Sunset Ultramel. Like I think we sold a pair of double het Sunset Ultramel, male and female. We sold a female double het Sunset Ultramel. We sold a banana Mojave clown, or it might have been a banana disco clown. I'd have to go like look at what the notes were. A visual sunset male, like stuff like that. So like good animals, but not like I think it was like probably, I'd have to count, but probably 5 to 7 total animals. What I would say.
That's good. That's good, man. And your Super OD Sunset Ultramel was not for sale?
Oh yeah, not for sale. So Andy saw, so Grant from Cyclone Serpents, he was trying to get us to buy or to sell that animal, and I would not give him a price because he has the kind of money where he could pay whatever price I said. So I just was not going to give him that price at all. But yeah, we had 3 different people who are very, very much wanting to buy that animal from us, but we don't want to sell it, or I don't want to sell it. I'll throw that out there.
I'd sell that shit for like $100,000 and buy 10 chondros from Dave D.
So we had somebody, and I don't know how serious of an offer these were, or if it was just more of like a curiosity, like, would you take this? But they came up and asked us, would you take 30,000 for it? And I said, no. Would you take 40,000 for it? And I said, no. And they said, would you take 50,000 for it? And I said, no. And then they asked me if I would take a tornado for it. And I said, no. But again, I don't know how much of that was actually like, is this a serious offer? Or is this like, I'm just trying to figure out where your price
I would have sold that shit for sure, bro. Come on, dog. You hear these stories, bro, where it's like the COVID money or the banana thing, and like, you know, it's like it's kind of I don't want to get like too like. Do you want to hear my perspective on it, Steven, or you don't really?
Yeah, let's get it.
I don't want to like you just hear that like. Someone bought Stranger for $20,000 and then next year they're selling them for $2,000. Like you don't think other people are gonna have a Super OD Sunset Ultramel in like 1 year, and
probably
like I know, but you're gonna breed with that now, and is it a female or male or female? It has to be a male.
It's a male. Yeah, so we've hit 3 this season. We hit 1 male and we hit 2 females. We sold both females, and then we held back the male. And really, there's a blend, and I think this happens to everybody in the reptile industry. Part of it is a business, and part of it is like, all right, whatever the amount is right now, like this year, that's the highest that animal's ever going to be, because more are going to get produced next year. So the prices are going to go down. But part of it is also like a hobby, and it's like, I want to make animals with that, and I need that boy. Well, that boy is critical to hit the like hobby plans that we have, where I want to make this specific combination of genes, or I want to work this project, and that boy is the best animal for those projects right now. And that's also the reason why so many people want him. Like, so there's that aspect of it. And realistically, if we hadn't hit 3 of them, and if we had only hit 1, maybe there's a situation where I'd be like, oh, this would be really good. It would, essentially, from a business standpoint, make so much money back that maybe we would have sold him. But the fact that we hit 3 of them and we already sold 2 females, we made a ton. It's like, I cannot complain. Like,
how much did you sell the females for?
So we sold one of them to Brett and John of Jersey Guys Balls. I don't want to get into like the actual like details of it. I don't want their business out there. But the list price that we had for her on Morph Market was $26,000. And then the other one, the one that we sold at the show, the list price that we had at the show was $20,000. So the one that we sold to Brett and John, that was an Orange Dream Sunset Ultra Male. Okay. And then the one that was at the show to Vince and Melise of Cert Plus, the list price on that one, that was just a Sunset Ultra Male, and that was $20,000 was the list price.
That's awesome, Steven.
Yeah, man. Congrats, bro. Congrats. Yeah, I hear you, man. Those animals, those genes, they are in right now, bro. And you guys definitely went down the right path with that, and I'm happy for you guys, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. I hear you. And on the flip side too, it's like, could you be able to like repeat that pairing and make some more?
Yes, but better.
Like, yeah, but like in the meantime, until that one gets up to size, or like it's probably already up to size.
Oh no, he's a baby. He's a baby. He's not upset.
But like, yes, would you give it one more shot? And then
so we have right now 1 more female. So we have 3 double het Sunset Ultra Male females. 2 of them laid clutches this year. We have 1 more that's at like 30 some millimeters. So she'll probably go, but she probably won't drop her clutch until maybe December-ish.
Yeah.
And then they won't be hatching out until early 26. So we'll have 1 more shot at that. But that pairing is essentially a double het to double het again, even though it's technically not a double het male to her. So the odds to hit it are still really, really low. It's the 1 in 16 or 6% chance per egg to hit the double visual. So if we get a clutch from her,
say you get a male, would you sell that male?
Yeah,
it was a super OD Sunset Ultra Male.
Yeah, if we hit another male, I would probably reach out to Brett and John, because they are the people who bought the first female from us. So we'll give them the first right to like, hey, I either want it or I don't want it. And then if they didn't want it, then we would go to Vince and Melise, because they bought the other female. And if they didn't want it, they'd be like, all right, Grant.
I met Brett. He was down here for Trap Fest with the homie MJ. He went to Pomona. It was cool to meet him in person. And
they're awesome guys. We're going to be there in November, but I have to look at the exact weekend. We're going to be filming with them up in New Jersey.
Okay. Yeah. Are you going to come out to the West Coast anytime soon, Steven? I mean, I know you were just here.
Yeah,
like for a show or like a Trap Fest.
We want to go to Pomona. We want to go to Trap Fest. I know that MJ, like with like the new baby, is like kind of figuring out when exactly he's going to do.
Yeah.
So it just kind of depends on.
Yeah. Congratulations too, man, on the new baby.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. 100%. I agree. And there's also a KG show.
Yeah.
Gotta mention the homie KG. It's a pretty kind of a small like 1-day show. It's a lot of fun though to see KG and D from Bomb Projects.
Yep.
And the whole Bomb Squad.
Awesome people.
I was talking to KG yesterday on the phone. I talk to him quite often. He's a good colleague to have in the game. Are you keep in touch with KG? I know he was vending at the show as well, right? He was.
Yeah, I really like KG a lot. When we were there in San Diego, KG was originally he was going to come down and get dinner from us because he's in LA. But I know that that's like a rough drive, especially with traffic and things. And I think something had come up with it. But no, I love KG. KG's one of my favorite people.
Yeah, heck yeah, man. And Jared, bro, are you gonna come out to a trap fest sometime?
I would love to. Yeah.
Yeah.
A quick funny story that obviously is relevant to you guys because you both know.
I know you got to meet MJ at
Yeah.
Tinley, bro, and that was awesome. Good to see you guys together.
That was great. So I'm just walking through with my son, and he had a Morph Market hat on, and I just hear somebody. I'm looking at something, and I hear somebody go, "Cool hat, bro," and just keep walking. And I knew that voice, and I turned around, and it's just MJ, and he's walking by,
Yeah.
and I was like,
MJ.
Yeah. And I was like, oh my God. So he turns around and he looks at me. He's like, hey man, like did not realize who I was. But like, again, he's never seen me.
What hat were you wearing?
So my son was wearing the hat. I was just walking around. It was just the basic Morph Market hat.
Oh,
but
no.
so he like, and he's like, yeah, man, just classic MJ, just nice guy.
Yeah.
And I'm talking to him and he's like, wait a minute, who are you? And I said, oh, Jared, Sartorial Arboeals. And he's like, oh, shit. He's like, Jared. He goes, you're my boy. And so he gives me a big hug. And it was super cool. And he's like, let's get a picture, man. So, I mean, just like I said, just awesome guy. Great ambassador for the community. And, again, it was that thing where it's like, never meet your heroes. But he's the exception. He's just a awesome guy. Gives back to the community huge. Dude, and like I said, didn't even know who I was or my son. He didn't know that I was one of his Patreon guys. And he was just like talking to my son. And like I said, just cool guy. Awesome. Pleasure to meet him. And, like I said, I love him and got a lot of respect for him. So
it was awesome.
Man, when I went to Trap Fest, bro, it was amazing, man. It was a movie. Like I saw like MJ's trap alone, his setups. You walk into his trap and Steven. You went. Yeah. It's like you walk into Indonesia, bro. It's like 70% humidity ambient or something like that. It's like 80. It's like 78 to like 80 degrees, and like, and then all of his animals. They have some size on them, bro. These are massive emerald tree boas. Are like huge, bro. They're like this big around, man, and green tree pythons are all just huge, man. Like big female, the biggest green tree pythons I've ever seen, bro. And the biggest, and especially like localities like Sarong and stuff and designers. And, usually you see big Beox, but man, he's got like some other stuff too that's big. And when you have like I've never seen like a collection like that, man. And when you have an appreciation for something, it's just, and then aside from his collection, man, all the people that were there, bro, is Dave D, Brian Fisher, man, I can't even. There was so many heavy hitters. We had Emilio. Man, I got my whole Chondro book signed by like 20 people. Just brought it, just I don't know, just for memories. And Socrates was there. These people that are just legendary all came just to hang out at MJ's spot, because that's how highly respected he is by some of the other most highly respected breeders in this hobby, bro. And it was a blessing, man. So I hope to see you guys out there one time soon, man, because I don't know when I'm gonna get out to the East Coast or the Midwest myself, bro. It'll be a dream one day. And it's one of those things, you just gotta make it happen. I do want to go to like a Bill Stiegel party. I don't know if you guys are familiar.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you, Jerry, but
I would like to go to one of those too.
Yeah. Bill Stiegel, Steven?
I know of him, but I've never met him.
Yeah, he's cool. He's cool, man. And but Steven, you ever thought about getting into chondros?
Not really. Mainly because like I with all of the ball pythons, I really like the ease of it. Like the fact that they don't require like constant vigilance, and I would be afraid I would do terrible with chondros. Like, I think they're absolutely beautiful, but I feel like that's beyond my skill, at least the level that I'm at right now. I'm all down for the ball pythons. I really like the frogs, but even the frogs are super easy too. So,
You know, if I may interject, I don't think it's beyond your skill at all, Stephen, but I think you are very wise to not do it because it is like you are clearly more than capable. I think you do great, but it is a headache. And like you said, there is something to be said for quality of life and peace. And, you know, there are days where I come down here and I'm like, please, nobody be dead. You know, like nothing's changed, but just like I breathed on them wrong. So I think you are a very wise man to admire them from afar and not get sucked into the green tree python, you know, hypnosis that they have on a lot of us where you're just like, I can't do anything else. I gotta keep soldiering with it. So
yeah, man. Yeah. It's that's respected, bro. Like, hey, if you want to get in, man. If you're unsure about it, just take some more time. And either way, that's respect, man. And what about you, Andy? I know that there's a lot of cool lines of green tree pythons out there in Europe.
Mm.
Have you ever thought of getting into some green tree pythons?
So I would actually like to get like one, but just as a pet, just to admire it, because I just like the normal plain green ones. I find very beautiful, but I'm kind of scared because of like not just because of the things you said today, but yeah, I also heard stories that the designer ones just from one day to another can be dead just for no reason, and I don't know that's something that I don't want to like go through. Like when you if you get really into it and you invest something like you would if you would go like high-end ball pythons, and then just one day the snake looks like perfect, everything is fine, and the next day dead on the ground. It's like, huh? So
I know some dude, he had an Amazon basin emerald tree boa, and it I think it like went egg bounders. You know, I mean, they don't have eggs, but like you know, it got like whatever that is for live bearing animals, and you know, there went 17K, bro. It's like, you know, it's pretty tough, but like, you know, it's not that bad, bro. If you just get one as a pet, you know, and you try it out, it's not that bad. But like we just we're not trying to scare people away. We just want you to know what to expect, bro, because you could hear all the podcasts and you could think that you know, I'm going to do everything to avoid that. It's never going to happen to me. Guess what, bro? It's going to happen to you. And that shit sucks when it does happen, man. And especially when you get up in the numbers and you actually try to start breeding them. Ups off, bro. And you know, it's just trying to be realistic about that shit. But like, you know, we're kind of like wrapping up. You know, I don't want to hold you guys. I know it's getting late over there where you guys are all at, but you know, I had a few like wrap up questions, like, you know, like for you, Steven, like how many clutches are you looking to get each year out of your ball pythons, real quick?
Yeah. So it all depends, and we actually were talking about this earlier. So we could pair this last year 60 females. I would have to look at our exact things for 26, but probably it'll be about 75 females that will like be able to pair. Our big issue is that we don't have enough males, so we end up having like one male go into like 10 females, and it creates like less, because they're stretched so thin, we don't have as high a percentage of those females going. So realistically, if we could in 2026 hit 50 clutches, I'd be like, let's go, we did good. So
I noticed I kind of stretched a male thin between like maybe 3 or 4 females, and one of the females almost slugged out. She had one viable egg, and you think that was due to maybe stretching the male out thin?
Maybe, but I wouldn't, in my opinion, and it depends on all that what you're pairing and stuff. I wouldn't consider one male going to 3 females, stretching them thin. I would be like, oh, that's a regular like male.
Yeah.
To me, I look at stretching a male thin when you're going to like 6 or more, and then it's kind of like, all right, let's try to make sure that he's going to the right females at the right time. But it also depends on how often you're pairing and if you're using an ultrasound. So if you're pairing every single week, and it's just for 6 months, that same male is getting paired every single week, but none of those females were ready to go, and then they start going, then that might be at the point where your male was stretched thin because all of his sperm was essentially like used up at that point, and he needed time to rest.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And real quick, back to the green tree pythons. It's like you could get a green tree python, man, and they won't even eat. Like I've had, struggle. Like a lot of these green tree pythons you get, they're stuck on frozen thawed. You got to like get a frozen thawed rat and like feed them and do a magic trick. Whereas ball pythons, they're pretty good feeders. They do go off food here and there, but for the most time, you don't really have to worry about feeding them and stuff. But green tree pythons, sometimes they could just like not eat and stuff. But then once you get them going, they get going. And then also they could not even breed for you. Like I got this new female for the male who sired my egg-bound clutch last season. And now he doesn't want anything to do with this new female. I don't know. He locked the other one up like right away. And now he doesn't want shit to do. And it's like, I'm looking forward to that pairing. That's the male I want to use. But it's like, sometimes they could just like compatible, and like now I don't really have another male to use, like, because my other one's all fucked up and shit. But like, you could get an animal, like you get a $10,000 designer male and he might not even breed for you, like it could just be, but
that can happen with ball pythons too. So
yeah,
so sometimes they are either gay or they just take their time.
Yeah, I had one take his time, but most of them they know what to do, man. I'll give it to the ball pythons, bro. That's what's kept me going, man. Love the ball pythons are so beautiful too, man. There's some really nice, like I made something kind of simple, but I really like it. Is a super pastel stranger spot nose, and it looks really cool. And I went pastel to pastel on my stranger spot nose pairing, and I missed on 2 of the pastel. Like I missed 2, and they don't have pastel, which was like pretty cool. I was glad I missed, and they were all strangers. It was 5 out of 6 of the clutch were strangers. Only 1 wasn't a stranger, but I had no visual clowns. It was a het-to-het pairing, and I'm kind of like maybe I got like one that's not a full het clown, but I'm pretty sure they were, and I just struck out. So I'm just gonna shed test the babies and go from there, like the holdbacks that I know and stuff. Yeah, man, that's a whole nother rabbit hole. But and Jared, or Andy, I mean, you're pretty much kind of the same boat. Like you got about 50 females, or maybe 70 females. How many clutches are you looking at each season?
Yeah, so I think I rotate more. So even though I have right now like roughly the same number, like I will also sell many adults once I see like what I actually hatched, so what I can then replace with. So last year, so I'm still leveling up. Yeah. So last year I had 9 clutches. This season I had like 21 or so, and I don't want to get that much more. Like, so I think next season it will be like 25 or so. So I think it will like balance out between like 25, 30 and not much more. Also partly because in Europe, Germany, there are like more like rules, restrictions that limit you in like how much you can do actually. Yeah. So you can't have like a big facility stacked with racks. You always have to have like some terrariums and stuff. So what you said like in the beginning with like how much ball pythons you can actually have in like a certain space. In Europe, that's different because you cannot just have racks.
Yeah. I totally forgot about that, Andy. You're right, man, and that's scary. if they're doing that in Europe, man, we really don't want that, and that's why we got to go support US ARC
Hmm.
and all that and spread US ARC awareness, because all these white lists they're approving, and these new rules and regulations, man.
Hmm.
Come on, dude. Ball pythons love racks, bro. They love that. I got some fucking big ass ball pythons in a small little rack, and that thing is so happy, bro. He just sits in his little thing and
Yeah. The thing is that those laws and rules are like made up by people who don't know anything about the animals,
yeah.
and then they just think any animal, it doesn't matter how it like lives in the wild, any animal must prefer to live like in some natural enclosure with plants and UV light and all these things, and they don't care that maybe some animals just like to be like in a dark enclosure with like limited space so that they feel secure.
Yeah.
They won't. If you tell them that, they won't believe you.
No, they love it. And if you put them in a too big of an enclosure, they'll go off food, and that's
Mhm.
when they struggle.
Yeah,
And
but
stuff. But yeah,
they still
Yeah,
force
man.
you to do it.
That's a great point, Andy. Like, really, just that idea that so many of the people that affect the legislation that affects all of us, they have no concept of what the animals actually prefer.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, you can see behind me, my enclosures are pretty sparse, but that's because the green trees do worse the more you do for them. Like the retics, you can do a cool, beautiful enclosure and they'll destroy it just because they're big. But like, they appreciate it. They like all the hides. They like all the plants. They like all that shit.
Mhm.
The green trees hate it. Like anytime you try to make it nice for them, they either destroy it or go off food. So, I mean, like to your point, I'll do what makes him happy. If you want a bare enclosure with some hide like branches in front of your perches and you just want to sit on that perch all day, every day, that's
Yeah.
great. You know, but I think like you said, a lot of the people that affect the legislation on that, like you said, they understand a very sanitized fairy tale version of animals,
Mhm.
that the reality is like, again, reptiles, they like to feel secure. Their concept of secure sometimes is being wedged under a rock,
Yeah.
Yeah.
all the time until they eat. So that's a really, really good point.
Yeah.
It's
And
actually
just that they kind of struggle in these like bigger setups where it's less, feasible to maintain the proper humidity levels, and they
Mhm.
feel insecure, like you said, Jared. And yeah, I mean, my green tree enclosures, they're simple, man. Newspaper, perches, water bowl, man. Like few leaves. But you see some of the OGest breeders in the game, bro. Ed Marino, Marshall Mendez, just newspaper, paper towel, bro. Super simple. Not even puppy pads, bro. Just I've been just switched back to newspaper, bro. Fuck it. And yeah, it's nuts, man. Like people have this like $10,000 green tree python, and it's in like a tub with like newspaper. And they have these Amazon basin emerald tree bows, and you look at their setup, it's on like some PVC rods that are torched with a blowtorch, and it has a new paper towel substrate. It's like, damn, bro, he's got it's but simple, like I say, keep it simple, man. And Jared, like, how have you had any pairings that you're still or
I'm
trying
gonna
anything yet?
I'm putting I wanted to get one more Nido test in, but because my female is wild caught, so I've had a couple negatives for her, so I feel good about that. But just me being OCD, I wanted to get one more, but I'm gonna try and pair her and one of my two older males, hopefully over the winter if I can trick them with the temperature and stuff like that, cycling. Um, but that would be my first attempt. So I'm cautiously optimistic, but not expecting anything. So we'll see how it goes.
And Stephen, back to you. Wanted to ask you. Oh man, sorry, bro. I just lost it.
Oh, no worries. No worries, man. No.
I just lost it, dude. I had a good one.
Oh, it's all good. It's all
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
But yeah, so I don't know what your guys' plans are, if it's like you'll be available to do it, but if you guys are not doing anything, January 31st and February 1st, it's a weekend. I know it's weird because it's like the very end of the month and the very beginning of the next month, but you guys should come out to the Southeast Reptile Expo in Atlanta for Bob's show. Like, it's a great show. Awesome.
That'd be awesome.
Enough.
Yeah.
Thank you, Steven.
Yeah.
I'd love to go. That would be badass.
Yep.
Good
And
one.
at whatever point you guys are like ready to vend or something like that, especially if it's like the like green trees and things like that. And I know that that's hard for vending at a show, but definitely let Bob know if you're like, hey, I want to vend and I got green trees. He'd be like, I will get you a table right now.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man. I almost had a 20 egg clutch, but shit happens, dude.
Yep. But I know like green trees are like vending like a show with green trees. That's not easy thing. That's not an ideal situation.
Yeah. We'll leave that for MJ, bro. He's got enough to kind of get a show. He's gonna pioneer the proper green tree vend. He's gonna show the world what it's like, man, to vend some green trees.
He had some
for
awesome
real,
babies. Yeah, he was showing me. We got the footage of them. They're beautiful.
dude.
Babies.
It's incredible, man. Can't believe it, bro. It's even like that, bro. All that he because he deserves it, bro. He deserves it, man. He put in the work, bro, and man, he freaking killed it, dude. It's like that was a huge, like, that kind of set the bar for some elite, some elite people, bro. And like, there's Will Banks, he's hatching out like 100 yellows or some shit. I don't even know how much, but and to hatch out like 70 babies and only like 3 are yellow at like 67 or whatever the ratio was or something, like I can't.
Yeah, almost all of them were reds.
Yeah.
They were super cool. Yeah, he was showing them all. And again, we have all that footage from when we were down there filming with him.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for it.
I'm looking forward to seeing that.
And so, Andy, are you ultrasounding? Do you have an ultrasound as well?
I have a very old one, but I actually have to say that I barely use it. So I have like enough males for the females that they can just pair like each female like once per month, and
once a month.
I mean, so far it works. So maybe that's not the most like efficient way to do it, but it works. So not to complicate things.
Yeah. Okay. And Steven, obviously, it sounds like you guys are using an ultrasound.
Yeah, we use an ultrasound. We need more males, though. Even with the ultrasound, we need more males. But
Yeah, man, it's always good to have some males, man. Not gonna lie. And I think I remember what I was gonna ask you was, like morph market auctions. Have you been using those at all, Steven?
very little. So I think we've done like 3 or 4 total auctions. I don't have anything against the auctions. I think that they are really, really useful for the overall like reptile economy and like the liquidity that you get by being able to move an animal just to get it out of your like space. But we don't really use them for a couple different reasons. One of them is I tend to not like, I only want to put an animal up on an auction if I kind of don't really care what price it goes for. So like, let's say that we have a breeder male that we don't really need at all anymore, and he's kind of like made his money back from us. We've got the holdbacks from him. So whatever we get from him is great. That would be like an animal we put up on an auction. But then we also don't try to go for auctions unless it's kind of our last resort. And instead we would like either sell them as like a regular morph market listing, sell them in the Patreon, sell them at a local show, things like that. And almost all of the animals will sell like through one of those methods before it gets to that point.
Yeah.
But occasionally you might have an animal that just, it's easier just to move out. And really we're only looking at it for the adults because that's when we need the space, where it's like, all right, we just got to move this animal.
Yeah.
We need to get it sold now so that we can have the adult space. But I think we've done like 3 or 4 auctions total.
Yeah, same here. Definitely, like auctions have helped me get out of like, bad decisions that I've made at a show or something like that. And auctions definitely helped out. I've done fairly decent on just recouping some of the losses from just kind of some like trigger happy decisions
Yeah.
from my show. But you use like Morph Market, you're like a regular like Morph Market user.
Yeah,
And-
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
So we use Morph Market. Our kind of like process goes is any animal that's like roughly over $200-$300 where we'll be like, oh, this would make like a nice pet. We'll post that to Morph Market. We'll post it to Patreon first, then we'll post it to Morph Market, and then anything that's under $200, we don't really bother posting to Morph Market. Like we'll either wholesale it or we will bring it to a local show and we'll sell it at a local show.
who would you wholesale it to? Like a pet store?
Yeah, so we actually have a couple different like wholesale outlets, but one of them, the big one that we do, he owns a pet store. I think it's like right outside Charlotte, but yeah, so that's what will happen. So he is all the time. He'll be like, "What do you have?" Like, I will take literally anything. Like,
Yeah. All right. And yeah, man. So you're never on, I don't even want to bring up that other auction site's name, but you're never on that other auction site, obviously.
I don't have anything. Yeah, I don't have anything against Palm Street. We do have an account. We've never done a Palm Street auction. Again, it kind of comes into that idea of like if we're going to auction something, it's more about like we just need to move the animal. And generally speaking, we don't have enough animals that it would ever make sense for us to do a Palm Street auction. But I have nothing against people who do Palm Street. I think that it is a really, really good tool if you don't have a wholesaler and you need to move a bunch of animals all at once. But I personally think if I'm going to auction something, I'd rather auction on Morph Market because you are going to get a higher value from it. And you don't have to pay the like 10% fees that you have to pay on Palm Street.
Well said.
Mhm.
Well said, man. Well, we're coming to a conclusion of this episode. We've almost hit the 2-hour mark, and just want to say this was a great conversation tonight, man. Just pretty much mainly about Tinley and getting to know each other a little more. And I think we would have some great conversations in the future, man.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Almost hit that 2-hour mark. Like I said, I appreciate you guys coming through and engaging. And if we could just do a little wrap up on Tinley and like maybe in like a sentence or two or three, like your kind of overall vibe from Tinley. Like when you left Tinley, how did you feel? Like
Yeah.
what was your reaction to Tinley? And like just an overall maybe like to someone who wasn't there looking in, like what would you say to that person?
Yeah.
And we can start with Andy. Let's start with Andy.
Okay. So I would say it was a great show. It was great to see like I would say the best, at least for ball python speaking, best animals you can see in the world, like in one show. And on top, like meet all the great US breeders, and even like Antoine from DPR from Canada was also there. So even international, also international visitors. Great atmosphere, I would say. Some great sales. So definitely recommend it.
And Jared, what do you think? What was your summary of Tinley, man?
I would echo Andy in saying I thought it was a great show. I always enjoy the energy at Tinley. I think that it's usually very positive for the most part. It is like Andy and Steven both said, and you, Adrian, have said, like a lot of people premiere stuff at Tinley. There's some excitement, there's some buzz. I definitely, like I said, I'm coming at it more from a hobbyist viewer perspective than a breeder and a vendor. Like they're seeing things, but I definitely felt like there's a lot of people cheering each other on at Tinley, which I enjoy. I like seeing the positivity, and I like seeing the camaraderie, and people hugging, people say like good to see you, man, things like that. It definitely has a very reptile family vibe to me, And that's part of the thing I enjoy, just besides seeing the reptiles and learning and, you know, kind of understanding the trends and seeing the cool new stuff people have been cooking up. And, you know, so I definitely think it was a promising show. And I think it bodes well for the next Tinley and the, you know, the next couple shows around the country that are coming up.
Awesome.
Well said, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I echoing everything that Andy and Jared have said. I think it was an awesome show, super fun. I think that beyond just like sales and like people through the door and stuff like that, one of my favorite aspects of shows like Tinley, and specifically this Tinley, is that community aspect. Being able to see all of your friends from all over the world in person in one place. And not only do you get to interact with people that you may have only seen online, but you get to strengthen those relationships. You get to form like really, really strong bonds with people. And ultimately, as long as you keep going and you keep nurturing those relationships over time, it can turn into amazing opportunities. Like I personally believe that if we were like, all right, we're going to go out to Germany, Andy owes us, he's got to host us now. So yeah, like things like that you just don't get those kind of experience and those connections unless you go to these big in-person shows and really become a member of the community. And I think Tinley does that really well.
Great
Nice,
point.
man. And if you ain't got no haters, then you ain't fucking popping, homie. What's up, dog? So when is that documentary coming out for us? That amazing documentary on the big homie trap god.
We are
Can't wait to
tentatively
see
looking
that
at
shit.
it, which right now we still got to record with some other people to get like their interviews into it. But the goal of it is next Tinley. So, but not next Tinley, not the fall, but like not the spring, the fall one. So
The
like
March Tinley? Yeah, March.
the October of 2026 is when we're roughly looking at it.
Okay, not
Yeah.
the spring. Okay, so
Yeah.
the October Tinley.
Yep. So we actually have quite a few other documentaries that we've already like filmed, and I'm in the process of editing. We have one on RGI that we have to do. We have a mutation creation one. We have one from Will of RCR, the Herp and Harbins, and I think those are all the ones that are filmed. And then we're also going to be filming Jersey Guys. But when we had talked to MJ about it, we're looking at October 2026. So it will be a while. Like,
Yeah. Dope, man. Yeah, looking forward to the future, bro. Future of this hobby. Man, I love this hobby. Love all you guys here tonight. I love everyone that tapped in to watch this and everyone that replays this episode. And it's all love, man. It's all love, bro. I'm a positive guy. And I try to bring unity to this shit, man. And yeah, man, I look up to the real ones, bro, the real ones. And you know, I just have my and who I stand with. I'm transparent about that shit, bro. You know who I stand with. You know, I ain't beating around the bush and all that shit. And I stand by what I stand by, bro, and I support who I support. And I try to make other people see why instead of, you know, bringing people down. I try to bring everyone up, bro, because rising tide lifts all ships, man. And so we'll wrap it right here, guys.
awesome.
And thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you
And
for having me.
if you guys want to hang out real quick backstage, and I'll wrap it up. And thank you, Steven and Andy. Thank you, Jared. All right, everyone. Hope you guys enjoyed that episode. Your boy Adrian right here, episode 16 with the big homies, Tinley Recap. You know what it is.